disgusting and horrific also, but going for that emotional punch does not in any way validate their argument about whether whether the fetus is actually a thinking individual. And of course, they have an argument about it having a soul, but I mean, I don't believe in a soul, so whatever.
So either way, the guy who's behind this exhibition has been put in front of, has been actually sued by people who were offended by this,
oh, that's
and
interesting.
He was let go.
Okay.
So what organization was he working for? Was he with the Catholic Church?
Let me just Google that. That was.
Yeah. What would we do without Google, huh?
Yeah, no. Like 20 years ago, we had to rely on
our memories,
libraries and stuff.
Yeah. Anyway?
Okay.
The exhibition is called "Choose Life, Stop Abortion."
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, that sounds very much like the sort of things that go on here. There's at family planning clinics where abortions are sometimes performed, you see this sort of spectacle here in the United States quite a bit, and it's really a very traumatic experience, I think, for the women that are going in there, either just to get birth control or plan their families. They have to see all this, and if people are actually seeking abortions, which are legal here in the U.S., it's a real gauntlet that they have to run, and it's really kind of sad what they get put through.
Right.
It is sad, and I'm sure it is traumatizing. I mean, I obviously can tell because I can't get pregnant. I'm not a woman,
yeah.
But I guess it would be very traumatizing. But there is no need really to shock little children with such images.
I agree.
That's what I think.
Right.
And
well, I mean,
the other thing that they like to mention is. Sorry about the phone lag.
No problem.
And,
it's okay.
They just like to say that they're happy with the exhibition because it gets them what they want. They want attention, and that's generally what they get. And well, I say that if you want attention, you could just blow yourself up in the middle of the city. That would garner attention too. But if your main motive is gaining attention, then you're just going to do things that are obviously bordering on being evil. And I'm not sure how much of a Christian way that is, but I do know that Christianity used to be pretty bloody in the past, so maybe that's actually what's going on. They're returning to their roots.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a typical tactic in general that if you don't really have factual information on your side, then going for a cheap emotional appeal is an easy way to accomplish things. I mean, there's a lot of discussion to be had. I mean, when they say it's murder, the question really is. Why do you draw a sharp dividing line at that point? I mean, like, why not? Why isn't it that, as a sperm approaches an egg, there are actually millions of other sperms also approaching the egg, and the vast majority of them will die.
Yeah.
None of them, nobody anywhere argues that that is some kind of mass murder event every single time a child is conceived. Nobody is saddened or depressed by that. And, I don't want to make light of actual infanticide, which abortion is not, basically.
Yeah.
I heard an interesting question that was posed by somebody, which is that if you had a burning building with a freezer full of potentially several million human lives in a petri dish somewhere,
embryos, right?
Yeah, embryos.
Frozen embryos. And
you had in another corner a single 5-year-old child, would you save the child or the freezer? Nobody, I think, is crazy enough to save the freezer.
Right.
I mean, there is a distinction that ought to be drawn here, and I think that the fact that so many people view it as murders now, when it wasn't even viewed as murder in biblical times, has to do with, you know, sort of social consensus that was arrived at, that this is just the way stuff is.
Oh, well, I have a more cynical view.
Okay.
I
love cynicism.
You hear this phrase here in the United States, the sanctity of human life. And it's been, I think that if you look at every time that phrase is used, the value of a human life is proportional to how much potential tithing that person can do from then on, right? So the sanctity of a human life of a 90-year-old is pretty much no one cares, right? It's not a there's no Christian initiative to try to make those people live to 150 or whatever, because they don't feel that they're going to get any tithe out of them. But boy, a fertilized embryo, you want to bring that to fruition, and you want to claim credit for that embryo coming, because that individual is going to be a child of God and a believer and a tither, give their life to God, and so they're a pretty valuable commodity. So I view this as kind of a very calculated way of extracting value out of other human beings for the benefit of Christianity and the church.
Yeah. Overall, the Catholic Church in Poland seems not to care at all what happens to children, to actual infants or newborns. Once they are actually born, they only care as long as they are in the womb. And what happens to the woman also doesn't matter, because there's actually a case of a woman called Alicja Tysiąc. Tysiąc. Maybe you have heard that name. I don't know if that's how you would pronounce it. Probably something like that. And she has actually sued the state of Poland because she couldn't get an abortion, and the doctor that was managing her pregnancy has told her that she would probably go blind as a result of complications of her immunological system. And she had the baby, but she did go blind, and she did sue the state of Poland at the European Tribunal, and of course the church went, pardon my French, batshit crazy about that.
Sure, sure. You know, I view a lot of this as meddling in decisions that are between the doctor and the patient. You know, the Catholic Church doesn't know a damn thing about those things, and they shouldn't be involved. And if they are involved, they should take responsibility for the thing there. I mean, childbirth is a very risky thing. You know, we've gotten used to modern medicine, you know, pulling people through, but it's a very dangerous thing, and there can be complications, and there can be a lot of difficulties. And this simplistic view of, you know, the child matters more than anything else is very kind of harmful. And people need to make their own decisions on these things, or, you know.
Yes, and the view that there is some sanctity of life over everything else, including over, for example, human suffering, is also just unbelievably evil. Like, for example, you could cause any suffering to a human being by prolonging, for example, death, just because life is so sacred that you cannot perform euthanasia. But that's kind of off the topic, and I'll try to wrap this up.
Okay.
By also mentioning from the medical viewpoint that also it happens from time to time. Actually, a lot of times it happens that the woman's body aborts the pregnancy before the egg even.
It's more common than people realize, right? Sometimes the embryo doesn't implant, and sometimes there's very early miscarriages. Yes, it's a very common thing. Go ahead.
I just like to wrap this call up, because I'm sure the phone bill is already going to be insane.
Okay.
So anyway, congratulations on the show. I hope that no more crazy fundamentalists will try to blow up your abortion clinics.
Right.
Thanks.
And
Peter.
Keep it rational.
Okay.
Dark
Thank you.
humor. I love it.
Take
Thank
care.
you for calling, Peter. Bye.
That's a good closing. Keep it rational. I like it.
All right. So we have next Tim in Kansas City.